Welcome to the programme. Our top story this evening, the convicted fraudster behind the MMM pyramid scheme that scammed millions of Russians in the 1990s. Well, he is launching a new get-rich-quick project online. Sergei Mavrodi promises investors in his latest pyramid scheme that they will get a 20 to 30% monthly rate of return.
We are joined in the studio by Ivor Bennett. You've already caught a glimpse of him, I'm sure. It's good to see you here.
Good to see you too.
Ivor, can you please tell us about this man? Who is he and what's he up to now?
He's essentially Russia's answer to Bernard Madoff, right? But a lot more popular. He was responsible in the early 90s for Russia's first and largest pyramid scheme that officially was found to have defrauded 10,000 Russians out of around 110 million rubles, which was at the time around $4 million, out of their life savings. But investigators believe it was many, many more Russians, in the millions, up to 10 million people, and a lot more money at stake. And now, well, he went to prison for it back in last decade, and now he's up to it again. He's launching a new financial scheme, and he says this time it's legal, basically.
Amazing. I think he's back, having another go. Says it's all legal this time. So just explain to us. We will judge ourselves, I think, whether it's going to be a good idea or not. Just explain the new scheme to us.
As he said before, he reckons it's going to make people monthly returns of up to 20 to 30%, and he's calling it an international financial social network where all transactions are made between the investors themselves, so no middleman. So creaming off the money, that's what happened before. And the way it works is that investors buy a ticket or a share, and then the value of that ticket increases as more investors buy into the scheme, right? And then the way you get out, the way you make your money, is you sell this ticket to a new investor for more money than you bought it for. So therefore you bypass the middleman, but it is a pyramid scheme in the sense that the investments are increasing all the time. Now, Mavrodi hasn't actually denied that it's a pyramid scheme, but he does say it's a lot more above board.
And how does it make it better than the previous one?
Well, he says he won't be taking any money this time, because that's what happened last time.
Obviously.
And this time he says it won't collapse. It's a lot more secure. You see, the danger with pyramid schemes, and this is what happened last time, is that they're essentially a fictitious investment scheme. There's no actual profit there, and so it's prone to collapse at any moment. It's got a limited lifespan, because the returns that are paid out, they are paid from the money of the new investment. So it relies on an ever-increasing flow of investment. As soon as that dries up, as soon as people think that it's going to collapse, then they want to take their money out, and then it does collapse because there isn't any money there. And this is what happened before. Back in 1992, 1994, Mavrodi launched this pyramid scheme, and the shares increased dramatically by about 60%, very, very quickly. And then when people wanted the money out, it collapsed. And he, in 2007, was found guilty of defrauding 10,000 people out of around $4 million.
I'm just trying to sort of get my head around this. It sounds like a strange scheme. It's not like shares in a company where it's dependent on the performance of the company. You just have a ticket, and if nobody wants it, presumably my ticket won't be worth much. So I have to go home and think about that a bit more. This gentleman in question, though, it's believed by the authorities millions of people lost money to him, yet somehow he remains pretty popular. Now, how on earth can that be?
Yeah, it is very strange. He does seem to have achieved somewhat of a cult status in Russia, largely in part of his TV advertising campaign back in the early 90s, when advertising on television opened up. It was some of the first independent advertising, and it was very sort of a quirky advertising campaign. Anya, maybe you remember it?
I do, absolutely. It was very popular, because there weren't many TV ads back in the day as well, and it was just gripped your attention. There it is, because it had a few characters.
As ordinary Russians, suddenly their life dramatically improves after they bought shares in this investment scheme. However, it wasn't to be. Millions of people, as you say, are thought to have lost their money. But despite this, Mavrodi has kept a very popular image, and this is evident in the sense that he was actually elected to Parliament, to the lower house of Parliament, the State Duma, in 1995 it was, whilst he was actually he was being held in prison that year on charges of tax evasion. He wasn't actually convicted back then. Then he was released so he could run for Parliament. He got in largely because of support from the people he had actually defrauded. These people thought that he and their money were actually victims of a corrupt state, and that it was a government plot to bring it down. And that still was evident and apparent in his trial in 2007, when many of the elderly investors from that scheme in the 90s were there, when the verdict was read out, they were standing up alongside him to receive the verdict, and they were saying that he should be just let free and he hasn't done anything wrong. And here he is trying to do it again, so he's still got that support, clearly.
Unbelievable.
Amazing, yeah.
So Sergei Mavrodi is back. There's a new pyramid scheme brewing there, in case you're interested, and we're talking to our correspondent Ivor Bennett about it. Thanks so much for the information.